Hey, how's it going? This is Tyler Walton from Tyler Walton Music, and we are back with episode 3 of my production breakdown for the album Abstract Mind Attack by the old band Crystal and Myth. This is a band that was around in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was approached by one of their members, a former coworker of mine, who said, "Hey, look, I have these WAV files that I converted from tape, and I want to do a remaster." So if you haven't seen the first two episodes, I'll link them below. They're also going to be in a playlist on my channel, so check that out. We talked about the title track. We talked about the second track, which is called Crazies. And now we're going to talk about the next track, Our Hands. This one is really cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. And we've already gone over like a lot of the heavy production stuff. And again, just because this all was recorded kind of in an isolated manner, we don't have to do too much different of production stuff track to track. We just got to keep things consistent and then do some leveling. One of the cool things, though, with this one is I got some creative input on this on the back end, and I kind of went in and kind of spliced in like an intro before the guitars. And Eric, thank you very much for letting me do that. If you watched the second episode, the previous one, I mentioned that Eric, my client, he was here with me the entire time I was doing it. He was right behind me, kind of calling out the plays and shot calling as I was going and bouncing ideas off of each other. It was a really great collaborative experience. And he kind of let me put this little intro in here for all of my Wagner friends or Wagner fans out there. Here we go. Let's just play this out with the intro into the song a little bit, and then we'll break it down. Okay, so I let it play out a little longer because there was a lot going on here. So You could really feel the Slayer, Megadeth kind of influence. This was very fitting for the time period. This was a band that was heavily inspired by the big four of thrash, uh, early 90s prog, some shred, glammy shred stuff. And it's really evident like how great of musicians these individuals were. That breakdown there that I was kind of soloing out, we could hear the drums and the bass, and I brought the guitars in, and then I unmuted everything. That breakdown is just crushing. Like you would hear that on a Metallica record or a Slayer record or a Megadeth record, and it like when I heard this the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. Like this songwriting is incredible. Great riffs. So let's just kind of go in. I had to kind of cut in the Valkyries into that one. And so where we go with this is basically right down the line. Let's just kind of get stuff out of the way. If you haven't seen the first two episodes, please, I do highly encourage you go back and check the first two, especially the first one where I really get in the weeds on like the production presets that we made. So for this one, as you can see here, we kept the pans at 15 minus and plus, and then there's nothing active on the drum tracks themselves. Everything is being bussed to an auxiliary channel drum comp where we have our drums, which again, I really just want to highlight the punchiness. I want the drums to sound natural. I don't want to paint a slick over top of it. I want the natural feeling of the drums to come through, but I want that kick drum to be really punchy, and I want that snare to breathe. And then in this case, we have some circumstances of like bells and rides and everything toward the end, and I want those to kind of really stand out as well, so we can play this out. So this compressor is actually identically the same as the compressor from Crazies, minus 32.7, and then I gained it up about 8 decibels. And this is saved as drum comp 2. We have a couple down here, as you can see, like 1, 2 drums left. Yeah, so I mean we were playing around a lot, and this seems to be like the sweet spot that we landed on. And then also, I just want to point this out again as well. We don't have any reverb. These drums sound really reverberated. There are no reverbs. There is no reverb put on the channel itself. This is all natural reverb from the room that they were recording in. And in the process of texting, or in the process of doing these videos, last night when I wrapped up on Crazies, because I brought this up in Crazies also, I shot Eric a text message. And I asked him really fast, like, hey, like, can you really quick confirm just how you did the mics? Because I'm doing this breakdown. And I was correct. So we're using ribbon mics and SM57s. He can't confirm what ribbon mics that they were using. And basically on drums, let me just go ahead and solo drums exclusively here. This is everything. The toms have mics pretty much right on the head. The snare has a mic pretty much right on the head, and then there is a mic inside the kick drum, inside the little hole in the front, to really capture that beater hitting the kick drum. And this is what they sound like without the overheads. And then on the overheads, because they didn't have a budget, this was a DIY project recorded onto a bunch of Tascams. They used kitchen chairs from their guitar player's kitchen. They put kitchen chairs in the garage, and then they put mic stands on top of the kitchen chairs and hung the mics over top of the drum set to make their overheads. And this is what they sound like by themselves. Much more reverb. It's really important to note that none of the cymbals were mic'd up. All of the cymbals that you're hearing are being picked up through the snare and tom mics, and then the overheads. The cymbals were not independently mic'd themselves. Moving on to the bass, as you can see here, the bass is the only thing that we didn't touch in terms of automation for this entire track, and it's because this bass actually kind of like sat perfectly in the middle. We have it dead in the middle. We have our bass preset going on here with HIV, which we'll get to in a little while. It's pretty much identically the same as the last one, and then we have our compressor just to kind of fatten it up a little bit and keep it nice and tight. So let's solo this and play this out really fast. So there's that, and then the guitars, which the guitars I'm super proud of still. We just have the Ozone 8. I don't know why that's still down there. The Ozone 8, there's no reverb, no compressor. We're just pretty much using our Myth Axe preset that we made. Again, brighten up the top end a little bit, do a quick little high pass, and really just want to bring out the pick attack. Just like that. And then the guitar lead, which we'll get to in a minute, and then the vocals, we are pretty much running the same stack. The only thing different is, like with Crazies, we kept the reverb on this one.
Simply sifting through debris in a world constricted by time, magnifies all I see. Interrogation by my artificial eyes. I'm left helpless in my quest. Lost suggestions from the rest leave me to wonder why. Like can't I hypothesize and save the lives of all the ones left helpless, still more than to die.
Yep. Really just, again, letting them do their thing. We didn't go over this in Crazies, but we did go over this in Abstract Mind Attack. I'm using a de-esser and I'm using a deplosive just because he wasn't singing into a pop filter. Like I'm on a pop filter right now, and even then, I mean, this mic is still a pretty high-end mic, so even if I remove the pop filter, like I just pulled the pop filter down, you probably can't hear the like the pop and sounds as harshly as you could. So we used the deplosives and then the de-esser just to kind of smooth things out and kind of take out those harsh frequencies that come from the popping and the S's. So there's that. This is all from Isotope's audio production suite. And then, yeah, the chroma verb, and then just a tape delay just to kind of give it a little bit of that kind of megaphony, early Metallica sound, which is kind of what they were looking for it to do. Eric was really adamant, like, we really want that, you know, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning kind of vocal sound that James Hetfield had. So, and then a compressor. So there's that. Let's listen to that with the harmonies.
We are restricted by time, subtle answers in our mind, but it's just not enough for the questions, just too tough. And if we walk.
And those are basically just like gang vocals. Can't really complain too much there. All right, let's go back up to this guitar solo. All right, I had to do a cut here because there's like a lot, like you could really hear like the pickups were like really feeding back. Like you could hear like the audio from the Tascams feeding back in. Like you could hear the drums and the rhythms and all that stuff. So I kind of like cut those out, and then you could hear like the pickup jack or the plug jack, like the instrument cable and everything. And so this is the guitar solo. Again, just using the EQ and compressor just to kind of highlight pick attack and brighten it up. without keeping it so shrill. And then I mute it back down. So, yeah, and then we go into the breakdown. I really want to highlight the drums and the bass one more time. That whole section is so killer. And then this basically just rides all the way out to the end. Then at the end, we got like a little boom that was included back here. And that is Our Hands. I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you for checking this one out. If you liked anything about this, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. I would love to hear your feedback. One of the things that I failed to mention on the previous two that I felt was a really unique challenge was bringing it into like the modern era with modern production techniques, but also keeping that sound. And if you were a fan of the big four of thrash in that, 80s, 90s time period, you know what that sound is. And sure, we could bring this into modern day and really 4K, HD TV this thing up and make this as hi-fi as humanly possible and Dolby Atmos and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it would sound absolutely killer. But the client was very specific, and I think this is the most important thing a producer can do. And I'm saying this as an amateur producer. Sure, I got a degree in it, but this is my first production job, like paying production job. So by no means am I, like a George Lever or anything like that. But one thing I really want to harp on is if a client comes to you and says, I want this sound, and even if you think like, well, it would sound better if we did something else, like bring this into a really hi-fi environment and really make this sound like a modern thrash production, akin to modern Metallica, right? Sure, that would sound great. But the client wants this to sound like the time period. The client said, we were a band in the late 80s, early 90s. That was the best time of my life. I want this sound. I want to take this back to my guys and for us to be able to relive this again. And that's our job as a producer, is to capture that. So we had to take special care in keeping the quality of the guitars that don't sound necessarily as super hi-fi. Like these record on Tascams. So let's kind of keep that Tascam sound, but just, do a little bit to make it go a long way. And I mean, we could go on for hours about methodology and the philosophy of that kind of stuff, but I really appreciate the challenge. And again, Eric, I thank you very much for hiring me for this, because this was just an amazing project and it really taught me a lot. So that being said, my name is Tyler Walton from Tyler Walton Music. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know if you did. I love hearing from you in the comments. And I'll see you with the next one. Stay safe out there.